everyone, welcome back to the Netflix horror fix thing that I am doing, me being Postman Pixie. I had an intro planned and that totally wasn't it, never mind. First of all, I want to apologise for the lights and the quality of this gubbins. By the time I got in, the sun was going down, and by the time I'd got everything set up, no more sun. Anyway. So, today we are talking about the second horror movie in the horror movie section of Netflix, if we're looking alphabetically, and that is the ABCs of Death 2, the sequel. The first one being ABCs of Death 1, which I haven't seen, but they're both the same basic premise, and it looks like the reviews for 2 were better than 1, so I don't think I'm missing much. This is going to be a bit of a different review to what I've planned to do for a lot of these, because it is the ABCs, it is A to Z, so you have 26 different short films, so obviously I can't talk about each one in much detail because otherwise this is going to be a million miles long and full of spoilers and awful, so I will try not to spoil too much. I will talk very briefly about each one. So if I'm glancing down every now and then, that's because I'm looking it up in my notebook, because I had to write quite detailed notes for this one. So, ABCs of Death is a horror comedy. They've got people from pretty much all over the world writing and directing these things. We've got Israeli, Nigerian, English, American, New Zealand, Japan, of course. How could you have a horror compilation around the world without Japan? Yeah, it's quite interesting looking at the way different cultures look at things, and they're mainly independent directors and writers and actors for the most part, I guess. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting seeing some work by people that I'm less familiar with, some that I am. But for the most part, people I'm not particularly familiar with, and yeah, on the whole, I enjoyed this. Let's rattle through the ABCs. I'll talk about each one in a little bit. I might talk a bit more, excuse me, talk a bit more about some of the ones I really liked, maybe some of the ones I really didn't. We'll see. So we start with A. A is about a heist that doesn't go too well. It's a clever setup. It made me laugh. It grossed me out. That's what you want in a horror comedy. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. B is for Badger, and yeah, that's as funny as it sounds. It's directed by and starring Julian Barrett, who you might recognise as Howard Moon from The Mighty Boosh. They're very funny, quite gory. It's about a arsehole of a nature presenter wandering around filming in somewhere in Britain, and something might have gone wrong with the wildlife. So yeah, that was probably one of my favourites. C is for Capital Punishment, which is about capital punishment. It's about a guy who may or may not have committed a crime. That one was brutally gory. There were a lot of points where I had to look away from the screen. I have never seen a beheading that looks like a beheading. A warning while I go on about a lot of these. Every trigger warning for this movie. Suicide mention, self-harm, neglectful parents, all sorts of really, really grim things. Homophobia, all sorts of things. I mean, for the most part, they're dealt with in a sort of slightly comic, cathartic kind of way. But yeah, fair warning, this is a gory one. So this is not one for if you're looking for a horror comedy that's sort of more on the comedy and less on the blood and guts. This is not going to be the one for you. So what's up next? Next we have, sorry, my computer, I'm doing this on webcam basically, which is part of the reason it looks like the way it does, so occasionally I have to wake my computer up. D was for Deloused. Oh gosh, God, this was incredible. Stop motion by a British guy whose name escapes me off the moment. Not a guy whose work I'm particularly familiar with. The only way I can describe it is creepy Kafka meets Hellraiser. It involved insects, it involved sacrifice, it involved murderous weird creatures. It was bizarre, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to have to look up this guy's work, because as I say, I'm not overly familiar with him. Hang on, I will look up his name. I have it on here somewhere. And I'm doing that thing again. I'm sorry. I really ought to prepare a little bit more of these, didn't I? Denounced by Robert Morgan. Don't know anything about him other than he's from a place where not too far away from where I grew up. So yeah, interesting. Definitely someone I'm going to have to keep an eye out for. Next up, E was for Equilibrium. Is a no dialogue story about some people who were marooned. It was quite funny, less on the horror, one or two gory bits, but mainly quite funny, and beautiful shot composition, I have to say. There's this sort of, these people are marooned, they've built some sort of structure, so they've got a sort of triangle thing, and so there's a lot of sort of shots down a beach through this triangle thing, which is very nice. I wasn't expecting such a sort of range of different camera styles, actually, which is kind of probably stupid to me. You got all these different people. Anyway, next up, F was for Falling. This was an Israeli setup about a paratrooper stuck in a tree who goes through a lot of grim accidents. This, I don't know if I would class it as horror, actually. It's definitely not horror comedy. It was quite dark and quite sort of real, but in the setup seems quite real, but something about the art style, the colour choices, it seemed very, very clean, and it gave us sort of surreal quality that made the gorier moments, and there were one or two really stand out. So this was an interesting one. Next up was a really odd one. G is for Grandad. This is definitely more on the comedy side of things. Very, very odd, very, very crude. It is about a grotesque couple of individuals, a grown-up grandchild and his grandfather, who clearly don't like each other very much, and it opens with them sort of bickering about alcohol, and that was kind of amusing, and then it got steadily odder and odder, and cruder, very crude. This whole thing is not really one to watch with your parents. Yeah, very crude. I won't spoil it, but yeah. H was for Head Games. What was that one? Oh, hand-drawn animation about the most destructive kiss ever. Although visually it was very different, there was a certain sort of Terry Gilliam-ness to it. Reminded me a bit of, not in the art style, because it was a very sort of scribbly art style, but in terms of the way the situation sort of grew and grew and grew when things got more and more bizarre. Reminded me very much of the Monty Python cartoons that Terry Gilliam did back in the day, so that was kind of interesting. I is for Invincible. Oh yeah, that was quite funny. A Japanese one, I believe, definitely Eastern anyway, about a a demonic old lady who is keeping her children from their inheritance. That made me laugh. Yeah, it was quite good one. I enjoyed that. J is for Jesus. This one I really liked. Really creepy, very LGBT story about an exorcism on a gay chap who whose lifestyle was clearly at odds with his parents or his church. I'm not quite sure. I might have been looking down at my notes at the time that they revealed who these two exorcists were, but there's stigmata, weird looking demons, everything you'd want from a Christian leaning horror situation. And the ending, which I won't spoil, was actually, although kind of weird and creepy, kind of cute. I'm always in bed. There's a lovely tone to a lot of LGBT horror that I kind of like, where, you know, the ending of the situation isn't exactly a happy ending, but it has this sort of they're together thing to it, which I always enjoy that trope. There's probably a name for it, but I don't know it. Next up was K. K is for Nell, as in Death Knell. This one was spectacular. I could have watched this over and over and over. In fact, I might do. Just because the imagery was stunning, absolutely wonderfully creepy. It involves a young lady looking out of her window and seeing this sort of orb of black liquids in the sky, almost like a sort of memoration of starlings, but in this sort of orb that sort of moves, and that was interesting enough in itself. And then it sort of vanished, and then okay, this one is probably going to end up being a little bit spoilery, just because I want to explain some of the imagery in this, because it's beautiful. Once this orb disappears, she looks down at the building next to it. There's a big sort of skyscraper jobby, and in each window she can see all these things going on, and this liquid has seemed to have made everybody incredibly violent, and there's a sort of rear windowy quality to it, where, you know, you're seeing through these tiny little windows right up, seeing these things pan out, seeing blood splattering on windows and bodies falling out, and then every single window has a person walking up to it and staring out of it, and as I say, imagery spectacular. It really gave me the shivers, which is quite an achievement. I always enjoy it when a film manages to sort of tick past the seasoned horror nerd exterior and give me the shivers. So yes, very much enjoyed that one. Next up was L is for Legacy, which is a Nigerian short, which is about sort of politics within a I don't want to say tribe, that would sound belittling better, a village, an African village. There's a sacrifice that goes hideously wrong. This one was odd. I couldn't quite make sense of the plot. Yeah, a little bit confused by this one. I kind of enjoyed the visual style of it. It had this sort of almost sort of old kaiju film quality about the monster makeup and stuff, which is always fun. Obviously, well, perhaps a bit less of a budget on this one, I feel, but yeah, that was interesting. Next up was M is for Masticate. Oh yes, this was funny, this was bizarre. It involves a man who is on the larger side in dirty underwear and all that else, and white contact lenses, going on a rampage down the street, and hitting people. Shot in slow motion to some sort of pop rock song. It was very funny, and the reveal at the end as to why he's done this also really made me laugh. Not much going on in it, but yeah, that was quite funny. N was for Nexus. This one I knew what was going on after about 30 seconds of sort of we have a couple of actors who are quite attractive. Here are them with very little clothing on. We sort of it's a story about a bunch of different people coming together, shall we say. I've probably spoiled that in itself. Never mind. I didn't much care for this one, just because I knew what was coming, and that's always a disappointment. Next up was O is for I could say this word a minute ago. It means mob rule anyway. I cannot words at the moment. You know what? I'll write it down. I'm sorry. I'm normally alright at words, especially, anything ending in ocracy is coming from Greek. I did classics. I should know this. This was my degree. Never mind. This one I really enjoyed. This was really fun, really clever. It's the wake of in the wake of a zombie outbreak. It's a sort of law court situation. Think I Am Legend, but with a jury. So people are being put on trial by people who have survived the zombie process. Very, very funny and very interesting idea. I'd love to see I wanted to see the rest of this world. I wanted to see, how this had happened, and it's just such a wonderful concept. And I won't spoil too much about who is on trial and who the witness is, but this was a great one. I really enjoyed this one. The next one was P is for scary. This one, I don't know what was going on. I'm sorry. This was like David Lynch meets the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges in limbo, or I don't know. Black and white chaps in stripy t-shirts with very long comedy noses, and then weird sort of Eraserheady stuff going on. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I probably look really foolish now, but I do not understand this one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to whoever made it. I don't understand. Next up was Q is for questionnaire. This one was quite funny again. It revolves around doing an intelligence test, and it's slow. It cuts between him filling out this test and getting a bit bored, and the reasonings behind this test, what it's for. The reveal is quite funny. Yes, I enjoyed this one. Next up was R is for roulette, which is a black and white Russian roulette situation. It took a long time to get going, and to begin with I was just thinking, Russian roulette, really? It's just so done. And then there is a reveal towards the end, which makes it a bit more interesting. And obviously I won't give away. Visually it was quite interesting, but Russian roulette, that's not been unless it's the Deer Hunter, Russian roulette is a bit S was for Split. Oh, this was a split screen shorts. So we've got on one side with the divide the man, and on the other side where are we? There we go. So hello, that would be his partner, and then you get another person appearing in the centre who is an intruder knocking at the door and then breaking in. So this had a really fun reveal, which I won't spoil, and yeah, interesting visual style. I think, like, split screen can be very gimmicky, but it works really nicely in a short film. Yeah, it was a good one. Next up was T is for Torture Porn. This is the one directed by the Soska sisters. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if they're not ladies. I enjoyed this a lot. It's a lady doing a screen test for a rather sleazy, porny kind of setup, and you know, you're sitting there thinking this is uncomfortable, but you know, you want to know where it's going. Where it's going is very fun. I enjoyed the payoff for that a lot. Very cathartic, very silly, great fun. Next up was Use for Utopia. This involved a very plain-looking gentleman who was very perturbed because he seems to be the only plain-looking gentleman in a world full of very, very pretty people. It doesn't end well for him. It was a nice idea. Again, this is one of these ones that no dialogue. It's just a situation unfolding in front of you. Visually interesting. I kind of like these films, short films, where it's kind of, they're not really a story, you're just being shown an environment. I kind of enjoyed that. V was for Vacation. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I smoked too much. This one, yeah, this is another sort of somebody talking to their girlfriend. This was a chap on his holiday talking to his girlfriend over FaceTime or Skype or whatever, and discovering that the friend that this guy is on holiday with is a little bit too been partying too hard, shall we say. It doesn't end well. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a bit tired of these sort of found footagey things. You know, we had this in Paranormal Activity, we had this in Unfriended, you know. God, we had it in Smiley, remember that? That was an awful film. Yeah, I mean, not just found footage, I mean, that's tired as it is, but these found footage sort of situations where someone like this is talking to someone else on a web camera. No serial killers, good. Yeah. Getting a bit tired of those. Never mind. It was slightly interesting payoff. This was one that I kept skipping back a bit because I kept thinking I missed something, but anyway, next was W is for Wish. Oh, this was well done. I enjoyed this a lot. So it starts off with a trailer, an advert, sorry, for what is, you know, a He-Man parody, effectively. It is so close to the adverts that I used to remember, you know, in between CITV shows back in the day, you know, late 80s, early 90s. It's very sort of Action Man, He-Man, Power Ranger kind of. Oh, that was great. And then there's a lad sitting there going, wow, I wish it was real, and then he gets sucked into this awful sort of very 80s-y but also very grotesque world, and not much going on plot-wise, not a huge reveal going on. I mean, there was a bit of a sort of odd ending, but for the most part it was just sort of seeing this world, which was great fun. I really enjoyed that. The next one on the list is X is for Xylophone. This was, again, not a plot heavy one, but I enjoyed this a lot. It involves a elderly lady sitting down listening to a record while her grandchild is on the floor with fairy wings playing on a xylophone, and the xylophone playing gets more and more frenetic, and the lady's reaction becomes more and more uncomfortable. Again, doesn't end well, but I enjoyed this a lot. Very good, kind of gory reveal, but very, very fun. I enjoy that a lot. I kind of enjoy this sort of playing with expectations, especially when it comes to the elderly. Yes, that was fun. Why is Fees? Oh, this was kind of depressing, actually. It's sort of Japanese body horror-y kind of thing, except these all these horrible things that are happening are fantasies in the mind of a girl who is kind of neglected, and she's pre-teens, maybe early teens at the latest, and clearly is very, very unhappy and abused, and she there's sort of scars on her arm, and that's kind of sad. Like, the makeup was wonderful, and the effects were really the creatures that she imagines up are really funny, but grim, really grim. That just I mean, it was a well done piece of cinema, but wow, a dark subject to treat so sort of jokingly. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, it was just a really unusual choice. Really interesting. Last one is Z is for Zygotes. This was about pregnancy. A pregnant woman is basically left in this sort of very spooky home, and it's not entirely clear whether what she's seeing in this home is in her head or is some grotesque body horror thing going on, but she ends up with a bump that's a lot larger than the bump should be, to the point that she can't really move around very much, and this sort of spooky hut-like home, I mean, I'm trying to think what it reminds me of. The closest I can think of is the opening credits for American Horror Story, the first season, with the sort of, things in jars, and dusty, and jars tipping over with stuff coming out of it, grotesque. And then there's this sort of birth sequence that doesn't go like a birth should, and wrong end for a start. And then there's a reveal at the end which suggests that it might not, it might not have happened. It might just be in her head. But yeah, that ended on a. I don't like pregnancy stuff as it is, so this sort of went straight to my brain, I guess. I would have preferred maybe to end on a jollier note, but never mind. On the whole, I enjoyed this. The films that the segments that didn't work, of course, were all very brief. I mean, every segment was very brief. I mean, the film is about 2 hours in total. My maths is not good enough to work out how long each segment was. I mean, 5 to 10 minutes for each one, if that. Some of them longer, some of them shorter. But for the most part, most of them were at least interesting, even if I didn't like them. And then the ones that I really enjoyed made up for it in spades. They were great. I really enjoyed quite a few of them actually. I'm going to have to look up some of these directors and actors, because very few of them were familiar to me, which probably dents my credentials a little bit, I don't know. But yeah, no, this was a good one. This was much better than 51. Ah, it's so nice to see some creativity. Thank you Netflix. Anyway, next up will be Afflicted. Don't know anything about this one. Looking forward to it. It has a better sort of star rating than 51 did, so fingers crossed. Yeah, no, I don't know anything about it. Could be good, could be bad. Don't know what it's about. So I will see you then for your next dose of blood, guts and pixie dust, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.